There is a body on a throne in the heart of the palace. It has been there for 10,000 years. It is not dead, it cannot die. Every day 1,000 souls are fed into the machine that sustains it, screaming, willing, resigned, and every day the body burns through them like kindling, and the next 1,000 are brought forward. The body breathes. In some technical sense of the word, it thinks. The eyes beneath those sealed lids may still see something vast and terrible, somewhere beyond the veil of the material world. Or there may be nothing. No one knows. No one has heard the voice that once commanded the legions of 1,000,000 worlds speak a single word in 10 millennia. And yet, across the Imperium of man, across 1,000,000 planets and the void between them, 10 trillion mouths move in prayer. They are praying to that body. They have been praying since before their grandparents' drew first breath. They will be praying after everyone alive today is ash. This is the God Emperor of mankind. This is what no one tells you about the man he used to be, what he was. He was born, if that word even applies, before recorded human history, before the civilizations we name in textbooks, before the rivers that shaped them had carved their beds. He was a psyker of incomprehensible magnitude, a being whose power in the immaterial realm dwarfed anything that had walked the earth before or since. Some sources, carefully interpreted, suggest he was not truly born so much as coalesced, the spiritual remnant of every human shaman who had ever lived, souls that chose, at the moment of death, not to pass on but to pool their power for the species they loved. He walked among humanity for 30,000 years. Let that settle. 30,000 years. From the early Bronze Age to the 41st millennium. He watched the Egyptians build their monuments. He watched Rome rise and fall. He watched the printing press, the gunpowder, the atom bomb, the first faltering reaches toward the stars. He watched the age of strife tear civilization apart and watched it crawl back from the wreckage. He did not age. He did not rest. He moved through history under different names, different faces, different causes, always nudging, always guiding, always positioning humanity toward something better, and stepping back before anyone could realize what he was. Imagine what that does to a person. Not the power, the witnessing. 30,000 years of watching the species you have chosen love, chosen to protect, make the same mistakes. Find beauty and burn it. Build cathedrals and fill them with lies. Reach towards something transcendent and turn it, always, into a weapon. There is no self-pity in what followed. He did not become bitter because he was wounded. He became ruthless because he understood, in the particular, earned, exhausted way of someone who has seen the cycle enough times. That sentiment, unchecked, costs more lives than clarity ever will. His ruthlessness was not cruelty. That distinction matters. And it matters less than we want it to. The dream he carried. He called it, or his followers would later call it, the Imperial Truth. The vision was this: a humanity that had grown up. A species that looked at a cold, indifferent, predatory universe without flinching. That acknowledged, unflinchingly, that the gods men worshipped were not protectors, but parasites. That every prayer fed something ancient and hungry in the space beyond reality. A species that chose, knowing all of this, to build something anyway. No superstition, no gods, no comforting lies told to frighten children in the dark. Just humanity, clear-eyed, together, building a civilization worth the name. It is genuinely beautiful. Strip away everything that was done in its service, everything that was sacrificed for it, and the dream itself is genuinely beautiful. A secular enlightenment for the entire species. An Imperium of reason. The problem, and this is where you must hold two things simultaneously, is that the dream required him to become something the dream could not survive. The wrong Xenocides. He ordered them. Alien civilizations annihilated not because they were evil, but because they were inconvenient. Because the crusade had a schedule, and because the knowledge that entire species had been exterminated for logistical efficiency did not fit the inspiring narrative he needed his armies to believe. The records were sealed. The legions that fought there were never fully permitted to speak of what they had done. The memory was managed. He managed it. He, who had spent 30,000 years decrying the dishonesty of priests and kings, became the most powerful censor in human history. The Council of Nicaea. He called it to adjudicate the use of psychic powers within the Space Marine legions. Magnus the Red argued for the use of the warp, argued that knowledge of it was the only real protection against it, that understanding the danger was more valuable than pretending it did not exist. The Emperor ruled against him. He ruled against him because Magnus was right about the facts and wrong about the timing, because humanity was not ready, because the Imperium's armies were not ready, because he was building a cathedral, and the nave was not yet complete, and he could not afford for the congregation to look too closely at the scaffolding. And Magnus, who loved his father more than any of his brothers, obeyed. He obeyed. Every time the Emperor chose the mission over the person in front of him, there was a person in front of him. Every time he decided that the cost was acceptable, something paid it. He was not wrong about the math. That is not the same as saying no one bled. The son he miscalculated. Horus Lupercal was the greatest of the Primarchs, by every measurable standard, by the Emperor's own accounting. He was also a son who needed something his father would not give. Not power, not recognition. The Emperor had given him the title of War Master, command of the entire crusade, the most visible expression of trust the Imperium had ever witnessed. What Horus needed was smaller than all of that. It was the thing fathers find hardest to give their most capable children, because it seems redundant, the honest acknowledgement that the relationship was real, that the love was not strategic, that the mission, for all its weight, did not outrank the man. The Emperor never told Horus the truth about the Webway Project. This is the wound that chaos opened. While Horus fought at the edge of the galaxy, bleeding for the crusade, the Emperor had quietly retreated beneath the Imperial Palace and begun work on a project of staggering ambition. A tunnel through the Eldar's ancient network of pathways in the immaterial. A passage that would allow humanity to travel the stars without ever touching the warp at all. No exposure to the gods, no risk to the soul. A future where humanity could cross the void of space without paying the price the warp extracted. It would have changed everything. He never explained this to Horus. He withdrew from the crusade, the enterprise he had entrusted his sons to complete, without explanation. No context, no honesty. No, this is what I am doing, and why it matters more than my presence here. Just absence. And Horus, brilliant and proud and privately wounded, was left to interpret the silence. Chaos did not create Horus's doubts. It found the doubts that were already there and held a mirror to them. And the mirror lied, and Horus believed the lie because it explained the absence in a way that made more sense than the truth, because the truth had never been given to him. He was not wrong to want it. The Emperor trusted no one completely, not even the son he loved most. Perhaps especially not the son he loved most, because the higher the stakes, the less the Emperor could afford vulnerability, and Horus was his greatest vulnerability. This is the paradox at the heart of everything that follows. He loved his son enough to give him the entire crusade. He did not love him enough to tell him the truth. In a man of lesser power, this would be a tragedy of ordinary proportion. In the Emperor of mankind, it consumed 100,000 years of peace that never came. He knew what the Chaos Gods were. He had known for 30,000 years. He had watched humanity's faith build Khorne and Slaanesh and Tzeentch and Nurgle into the architecture of a reality that sat adjacent to his own, feeding on every prayer, every act of devotion, every willingness to believe in something outside the self. He knew, with the particular certainty of a being who had watched the process from the beginning, that worship creates. That faith is not merely psychological, it is ontological. That when 10 billion people pray to something, that something becomes more real. That every candle lit in the name of a god strengthens the god. And so he refused. For 30,000 years, with full knowledge of his own power, he refused to be worshipped. Not from humility, he had no false modesty about what he was, but from an understanding of consequences so clear it amounted to horror. He had watched the Chaos Gods grow. He would not become another. He built the Imperial Truth precisely to prevent it. A secular Imperium, a species that understood the danger, a civilization that would not feed the darkness. He sat on the golden throne in 014.M31. By 999.M41, the Adeptus Ministorum has spread the imperial cult to every inhabited world in human space. By 999.M41, the Ecclesiarchy has fought wars in his name that have killed more human beings than some Xenos species ever managed. By 999.M41, he is the single most worshipped entity in the Materium, which means, by the logic of a universe where worship creates, by the logic he understood better than anyone, that he has become in every meaningful sense a god. He spent 30,000 years refusing godhood. Humanity gave it to him anyway. In the silence of the throne, while he fought to hold the Astronomicon together, while he burned through 1,000 souls a day, just to maintain the beacon that kept the Imperium navigable. The thing he had dedicated his entire existence to preventing happened around him, because of him, through him. His absence was the permission slip. His silence was read as sanctity. His sacrifice was received as proof of divinity. A being who defined himself entirely by what he would not be became. In death that is not death, precisely that thing. The word irony is insufficient here. What is he now? This is the question the 41st millennium cannot answer, and cannot stop asking. The theological position of the Adeptus Ministorum is clear. He is the God Emperor, divine, present, hearing every prayer, guiding the Imperium toward its manifest destiny. This position is, functionally, a political necessity. An Imperium of 1,000,000 worlds held together by faith cannot afford to ask whether the object of that faith is conscious. The position of the Adeptus Mechanicus, more quietly held, is technical. He is a psyker of incomprehensible power, his physical form sustained by the throne. His consciousness, if it persists, occupied entirely by the maintenance of the Astronomicon and the war against demonic incursion in the Webway beneath the palace. Some inquisitors, in sealed files, have asked the harder question, whether there is anything left of the man at all. Whether 30,000 years of mortal existence followed by 10,000 years of this has left anything recognizable behind. Whether the being on the throne is, in any meaningful sense, still him. No one knows. If he can perceive, and the evidence suggests, in fragments that something does, what would he perceive? The prayers of 10 trillion mouths directed at him. The Imperium that was built in his name. The wars fought in his service by institutions he would have found monstrous. The Inquisition. The Ecclesiarchy. The pogroms against mutants and psychers. The humans he spent his entire existence trying to protect. The Imperial Truth lasted less than 2 centuries. What replaced it has endured for 10 millennia. If he can see it, if some part of what he was still registers what his absence made possible, there is no framework for that grief. It exceeds language. A being of his power and his age, reduced to a beacon, watching the civilization he built become the precise thing he built it to prevent. Restraint is everything here. We do not speculate beyond what serves the weight of it. We simply sit with what is there. What would he say if he could speak? He has not spoken in 10,000 years. There is no record, no confirmed whisper, no authenticated communication from the throne that anyone in authority has chosen to acknowledge. So we do not know. And perhaps that is the most honest ending. Not a revelation. Not a deathbed confession. Not the statement that would explain or redeem or condemn everything that came before. Just silence. The silence of a being who was certain, who earned his certainty in blood and time, and 30,000 years of watching humanity fail and rise and fail again, and who made his choices, and who was right about almost everything, and for whom being right about almost everything was not, in the end, enough. He was not cruel. He was certain. In the end, the two are indistinguishable. He loved humanity. In the abstract, enormous, costly way of someone who has watched it long enough to love it not for what it is, but for what he believed it could become. He was willing to do terrible things for it. He did terrible things for it. And humanity, as it always does, took what he gave and turned it into something he never intended, and called the result his will, and prayed to the shape of him rather than the substance. Return to the throne. Return to the 1,000 souls. Return to the prayers rising, as they rise every second of every day, from 1,000,000,000,000 mouths towards something that cannot answer. One sentence. Not about him. To him. We did not become what you dreamed of, and we could not have known how much that would have cost you. Or perhaps you did, and you built us anyway, which is either the deepest love or the deepest tragedy, and after 10,000 years of silence, we still cannot tell the difference.